You want an L2J server, but you don't want to waste a whole day jumping between dead tutorials? In 15 minutes, I'll help you build a Lineage 2 server that actually works. In this episode, we'll set it up locally and test it. And after that, we'll take it online step by step so you can launch it or play with your friends. Let's get started. Step 1. JDK25. If you already have Java installed, double-check the version so you're not accidentally running an older JDK. The goal is, when we build and run, everything uses the same Java version. A Lineage 2 server setup has 3 big parts: the login server, the game server, and the database. The server pack is basically the login server plus game server code and configs. The database is what they talk to for accounts, characters, items, everything. Once you understand that tree, the whole setup becomes simple. Install dependencies, build the pack, wire it to the DB, then point your client to the login server. Next, the server pack. Download and extract it somewhere clean. For this tutorial, we're using the L2J Listvus server pack because it's open source and actively maintained. To download it, you've got 2 options. Clone the repository if you want the clean dev workflow, or just hit download zip on GitLab if you want the fastest setup. I'll use the zippy method here so anyone can follow along. Quick tour of the pack. You'll usually see folders like LoginServer, GameServer, Tools, and sometimes SQL or Data Pack folders. The Tools folder is important because that's where we'll initialize the database later. Now, IntelliJ IDEA. We'll use this IDE to compile and build our server pack. Download and install it, it's free. Then open the server pack as a project. If IntelliJ asks about trusting the project or importing build configs, accept it. In order to build the server files, depending on your pack, you'll have either Gradle/Maven or Ant scripts. This pack is using Ant build scripts that generate the runnable jars and required outputs. Therefore, we'll go to the plugins sections of the IDE and install the Ant plugin required to execute the build command. While the build runs, keep an eye on errors. If you see missing SDK or cannot find Java, it's almost always because your project SDK is pointing to the wrong version. In this case, we need to point it to use JDK25. To execute the build, go to the Ant tool view and double-click on the dist option. This triggers the complete build and packaging process. Once the build finishes, you should see a build folder for both core and data pack folders. Extract the archive you find in each build folder and copy the contents in a new folder. I've named it My-Server. That will be our final server folder. Cool. Now we move to the database layer, MySQL Server plus Client. For this video, I'm installing MySQL Server, and I'll be using MySQL Workbench as a DB client to see and manage the tables. During install, set your root password and make sure the server is actually running afterward. To do that, open your DB client and confirm you can connect. Now the important part, Initialize Server DB. Inside the Server Pack Tools folder, we have the database installer scripts. These scripts will create tables and import all the SQL files for both LoginServer and GameServer. We'll use one database name for both login and game tables. Hit enter to accept the default values presented. If you're on Windows and your MySQL is installed under Program Files, paths with spaces can break these scripts unless the right parts are quoted. So if your installer fails, don't panic. It's almost always a path quoting issue. Open the installer config file, usually something like vars.txt, and add quotes at the beginning and at the end of the MySQL path. Now edit the database_installer script. You need to search and replace the MySQL path variable and remove the quotes around it. Now run the installer again. Select Yes to create the LoginServer database. You should see it executing lots of SQL files. When it finishes, go back to your DB client and hit refresh. You should see a big list of tables. For both GameServer and LoginServer, we need to edit the config file and make sure the MariaDB driver is enabled, along with its database path, such that it points to our newly created database. Please note that MariaDB is compatible with MySQL, so our connection will be fine. Don't forget to fill in your database user password. In my example, I have used root user and test as the password during the MySQL server installation. Alright, we are almost there. Last thing we need to do is to register the GameServer. To do that, head over to the login folder and execute the register GameServer file. When prompted, select clean and then type 1. This will register our BART server and produce the hexed.txt file. You need to copy that one in the config folder of your GameServer directory. All done. Now we start LoginServer first. Watch the console. It should say it's listening on port 2106, it loads server names, and it registers the GameServer slots. Then start the GameServer. On a clean run, you'll see it connects to the database, loads scripts, load data, and finally say it's ready. If both are up, you're basically done. To test your server, install a clean Lineage 2 client matching your server chronicle. In this case, C4 Scions of Destiny is what we need. You now need a system folder that comes with an L2.ini file where the server address variable already points to the local host, IP 127.0.0.1. You can grab one from the L2J Listvus forum. If you search the forum using this exact text, you'll then find a post where this was requested. Now for the real test. Launch the client, hit the login screen, and try logging in. Auto-create accounts is enabled, so on your first login attempt, it creates the account on the fly. Congrats! You have successfully created your own L2J server. In the upcoming episodes, we'll see how to configure various rates for our server, make our character a GM, take this server from localhost to public so your friends can test it, and many more cool stuff. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. Feel free to join our Discord community, and if anything breaks, drop your logs in the tech support channel, and I'll help you debug it. Thanks for watching, and let's keep going.